is Luann Pygott, and I'm going to read you a story today out of Once Upon a Time Tales. I've read out of this before. This is actually a story I've never even heard before. I have no idea what it's about, but I'm going to read it. So let's be adventurous. Bob White and the Farmer Man. Have you ever heard Bob White and the Farmer Man? Me either. But let's read it and see what it's about. Once upon a time, there was a little quail. That's a bird. Whose name was Bob White. And he had a little mate whose name was Mrs. Bob White. One spring day, they were looking about for a good place to build their nest, and they spied a green field of wheat. "Oh, what a lovely green wheat field," said Mrs. Bob White. "That will be a good place for us to build our nest." "Yes, it is just the place," agreed Bob White. "It will hide our nest so that no one can ever find us, for the wheat stalks will grow up tall and strong, and besides there are always bugs and other good food to be found in wheat fields." So Bob White and Mrs. Bob White built their nest in the wheat field. They built it down on the ground, and the tops of the wheat stalks grew up over it and hid it, so that no one could find it except for Bob White and his little mate. And there were so many bugs and so much other food to be found among the wheat that they were both very glad they had chosen the wheat field for their home. Before long, the nest had 10 little white eggs in it. After a while longer, the shells were broken and 10 little Bob Whites were in the nest. Soon they were ready to run and play among the wheat. Mrs. Bob White led the little Bob Whites about through the field every day, showing them how to find bugs and other food. Also, she taught them things which every little Bob White must know. She taught them what to do when there was danger near. She would give a little call, and then every little Bob White must hide and be just as still could be. And while they were hiding, Mrs. Bob White would flutter along the ground as if her wing were broken and she couldn't fly. She would flutter and hop along until she led any stranger far away from where her little ones were hidden. Then she would suddenly spring up and fly back to them. The 10 little Bob Whites grew and grew, and soon they grew big enough so that it was time for them to learn how to fly. "Tomorrow we must start teaching our little ones how to fly," said Mrs. Bob White one evening, "for in another week they will be big enough to take care of themselves, and they must know how to fly well." "We must teach them right away," agreed Bob White. "The wheat is getting ripe, and the farmer man will soon be cutting it. Our little ones must know how to fly before that happens, or else the mower's sharp blade may catch them as it comes through the grain." Mrs. Bob White grew somewhat worried when she looked at the wheat. Sure enough, it was now almost golden instead of green, and it would soon be ready to cut. "But perhaps they will not cut it right away," said she. "If it is not cut for a week yet, our little ones will know how to fly, and will then be out of danger." Very next day, Bob White and his mate started teaching the 10 little Bob Whites how to fly. The little ones learned fast, but they would not be able to fly for 5 days yet. That evening, Bob White said to Mrs. Bob White, "I saw the farmer man and his sons at the edge of the wheat field today. The farmer man said that he thought they ought to begin cutting the wheat tomorrow." "Oh, dear me," cried Mrs. Bob White. "Whatever shall we do? Our little ones can't fly yet, and the mower's sharp blade will surely catch them among the wheat." "That will be all right," said Bob White. "Don't worry, for they will not cut the wheat tomorrow." "Well," said Mrs. Bob White, "perhaps you're right. If it isn't cut for 5 days yet, our little ones will be out of danger." And sure enough, when the next day came, the wheat was not cut, but went on ripening under the hot sun. That day, the 10 little Bob Whites were given another lesson in flying, and they did so well that their father and mother were very proud. "In 4 days now they will be able to fly and look after themselves," said Mrs. Bob White that evening. "I saw the farmer man and his eldest son at the edge of the field today," said Bob White. "The farmer man told his son to start cutting the wheat tomorrow." "Oh, dear me," cried Mrs. Bob White. "Whatever shall we do? Our little ones can't fly yet, and the mower's sharp blade will surely catch them among the wheat." "That will be all right," said Bob White. "Don't worry, for they will not cut the wheat tomorrow." "Well," said Mrs. Bob White, "perhaps you're right. If it isn't cut for 4 days yet, our little ones will know how to fly and will then be out of danger." And sure enough, When the next day came, the wheat was not cut, but grew riper and riper under the hot sun. That day another lesson was given to the 10 little Bob Whites. This time they learned so much that they could lift themselves off the ground with their wings and flutter along in the air for a short way. "Just think," cried Mrs. Bob White that evening, "in 3 more days they will be able to fly." "And none too soon," said Bob White. "I saw the farmer man and his second son at the edge of the field today. The farmer man said that since the oldest son had to go to town today and so hadn't cut the wheat, the second son must cut it tomorrow." "Oh, dear me," cried Mrs. Bob White. "Whatever shall we do? Our little ones can't fly well yet, and the mower's blade will surely catch them among the wheat." "Don't worry," said Bob White, "for they will not cut the wheat tomorrow." And sure enough, the next day came, and the second son did not cut the wheat. He was not feeling well that morning, and did not work at all that day, so the wheat grew still riper under the hot sun. The 10 little Bob Whites learned to fly farther than ever that day. In 2 days more, they would be able to fly well. That evening, Mrs. Bob White said, or Bob White, Mr. Bob White, said to his little mate, "I saw the farmer man and his youngest son at the edge of the field today. The farmer man was worried because the wheat was not cut today and told his youngest son to cut it tomorrow." "Oh, goodness me," cried Mrs. Bob White. "Whatever shall we do? Our little ones can't fly at all well yet, and the mower's sharp blade will surely catch them among the wheat." "Don't worry," said Bob White. "They will not cut the wheat tomorrow, and in 2 days more our little ones can fly and will be out of danger." Nor did the farmer man's youngest son cut the wheat the next day. He had a toothache and didn't work at all that day. The little Bob Whites learned their lesson so well that day their parents were delighted. "They are learning to fly very fast," said Mrs. Bob White that evening, "and if they do as well tomorrow, when the wheat is cut, they will be in no danger from the mower's sharp blade, for then they will all 10 of them be able to fly safely away." "I saw the farmer man and his hired man at the edge of the field today," said Bob White. "The farmer man is determined that the wheat shall be cut tomorrow, and he told his hired man to start in bright and early." Oh, dear me," cried Mrs. Bob White. "Whatever shall we do? Our little ones can't fly yet, and tomorrow the mower's sharp blade will surely catch them among the wheat." "Don't worry," said Bob White, "for they will not cut the wheat tomorrow." Nor did they cut the wheat when the next day came. The hired man fell down and stubbed his toe and did not work at all that day. That day, the 10 little Bob Whites finished learning to fly. And by the time evening came, they could lift themselves up in the air with a sudden whir, just like their parents, and could float away as easily and almost as far as Bob White himself. And Bob White and Mrs. Bob White were very happy, for now their little ones need not fear the sharp blade of the mower as it cut through the wheat. "I saw the farmer man talking to his sons and his hired man at the edge of the wheat field today," said Bob White. "The farmer man is determined that the wheat shall be cut tomorrow, and he is going to cut it himself, and he says that all his sons and his hired man must help him whether they feel well or not, so that the task may be finished quickly." "Do you really think they will cut it this time?" asked Mrs. Bob White. "Yes, indeed," said Bob White. "A man may tell others to do his work, and the work may be done, but whenever a man himself starts doing his work, he is pretty sure to finish it." "Well, let them cut it if they please," said Mrs. Bob White. "Our little ones still have a few things to learn about the finer points of flying before they can look after themselves, but already they can fly too well to be caught by the mower's sharp blade among the ripe wheat." And sure enough, the next morning the farmer man and his sons and his hired man were up and in the field bright and early. And as they started reaping, the wheat, the mower's sharp blades cut through the tall stalks of wheat at a great rate. As soon as they heard the mower's sharp blades begin cutting the wheat, Bob White and Mrs. Bob White and all 10 of the little Bob Whites flew up into the air with a great whir of wings. Then they all flew over to the next field, where they were perfectly safe from the mower's sharp blades, which were cutting so rapidly through the wheat. And there Bob White and his little mate taught the 10 little Bob Whites still more about flying, so that in a very short time all 10 of them were always well able to take care of themselves. Wasn't that a cute story about birds? I love animals. So till tomorrow, may you be good, have a good night, and may God bless you. Till story time tomorrow. Bye.